Hey, we are back. It is Wake Up Woodward and chat family. Thank you guys for kicking off today with the Woo crew. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and satisfy that like button real quick, and then we're gonna get right into this Woodward Pistons segment with the legend Rod Beard. Kavasi, man, you gonna hold it down for us today?
Oh, I'm doing it again.
Let's rock.
All right, well, make sure you guys take it easy, slow down, satisfy the like button. You know, I think yesterday we went side to side, so we'll mix it up. We'll go diagonal today. Go from the top left to the bottom right, switch it over to the bottom left, go to the top right, up and down.
What?
Make the little ampersand sign. You know what I'm talking about?
Man is working. What is that? My man working that thing like a joystick.
Yo.
Yeah, you know, like Atari. You know,
Rod is confused right now.
Hit the like button, y'all. Let's go. We got Senior Sports Editor at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So glad to be able to introduce you after that rousing satisfying of the like button. Rod Beard, welcome, brother.
What just happened?
a gentleman doesn't kiss and tell, Rod. They're trying to get me to spill the playbook.
Look, Rod, you gotta satisfy the like button sometimes. You know, get the people roused up to go and treat the like button well. And you know what, Kavasi Chase? Shout out Rod, put the glasses back on.
Aroused.
Oh, Rod got two glasses on now. Look what you done. Hey, be proud of your performance, Kavasi. It's inspiring.
I hate it, man. The like button's satisfied. That's all that matters, man.
The like button satisfied. That's all that matters.
Shout out to Rod Beard, the legend, man. Hey, Rod, look.
No.
Again, I know we started talking about these playoffs, and we're gonna get to our chat family driven Swisher break today, our Swisher break. But these playoffs, they've been kind of revealing. This thing hasn't gone the way that the script would have told you it would have gone. And you see the right now an improbable potentially matchup of brewing between the Pacers and the Thunder. And I don't know how many people called that. I know there were some. But it is spurred, at least in this Eastern Conference, by, honestly, Tyrese Halliburton going to a whole nother level. And I know I asked Flannel Sam about this, too. You know, these guys who've completely changed the narrative and kind of reset things for themselves in this playoffs. I would have to say Tyrese Halliburton is at the top of that list. And you are 100% right. The way that these Pacers are going right now, the help that they're getting all across the board, and Flannel Sam has the numbers on that. This team right now, you're right, this would have been a very tough out for the Detroit Pistons.
Right, I think this is just a time where they started playing well at the right time, and they came right out of the blocks in the playoffs and really just start dismantling teams. And the Pistons would have been tough for them, but that might have been 5, maybe 6 games tops. I don't think the Pistons beat the Pacers team the way they are playing right now. But yeah, we're seeing it, and I don't know how the NBA is going to feel about the ratings for an OKC and Indiana matchup, but it's going to be some good basketball if those are the two teams that come out of this.
Oh yeah, you know we definitely going to love it here in the Midwest.
Hey, yeah, shout out the Midwest. But speaking of good basketball, Cade Cunningham played a lot of good basketball this season, and he was rewarded with the All-NBA third team. However, and I'm just speaking for myself, I had an issue with Steph Curry being on the All-NBA second team ahead of Cade Cunningham. Do you share my sentiments, Rod Beard?
I share the "I told you so" sentiment. That's how that voting is going to work. He deserves first team, but is he going to get first team? No, because that Donovan Mitchell piece, because they were the best record in the East. And there's going to be just some Steph Curry sort of. Does he deserve first team? Debatable. Should he be on the second team? Yes, absolutely. Third team he got some acknowledgement for the season that he had, which is something. And I think if I remember the voting properly, he got more second team votes than Steph.
And he was 7th in MVP voting.
Yeah, let me look for the voting on that, because I thought he got more second team votes, but Steph got more first team or third team or something like that.
Okay.
And that's what kind of put the points put him over more so than the number of specific votes in a first or second team situation.
You know what? I can understand. I can understand the mind of a voter because when you hear Steph Curry first, third, I would happen to assume a lot of those people probably had Cade second, especially when you talk about the amount that he had. But the way that those things are tallied and totaled, the weight that they place on there, the fact that these players, and this is what we know the NBA does, even just as much as we know those big markets are going to have the eyes on them. We know this too. The NBA caters to its stars of that's had longevity. They're out there getting these all NBAs. They're going to get the nod over somebody who's probably newer to this thing and just starting out. And that's what I believe did ultimately help a guy like a Steph Curry in this instance. I know, me personally, I'm still saying it helped LeBron James too, even though I know my guy Flannel Sam will disagree with me. But, I do think that in this instance is one in which, Cade, when I look at the players that are up there, there is no slouches. This is one of those, they're throwing out the gauntlet, go out there and get it. I do believe Cade Cunningham is going to find himself on second team. I'm calling it right now. Second team All-NBA next season.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Two first team votes, 68 second team, and 30 third team. Cade was 6, 50, and 43. So Steph Curry ended up on every single one of the votes. 100 votes he got. And Cade was on 99. But because Steph got 68 second team and Cade got 40, then Steph, Evan Mobley, and Jalen Brunson combined.
Wow. So he got 6. So Cade with the 6 first place votes. We might have to figure out who did that. But we're also going to have to figure out who the heck left Cade off their ballot for an All-NBA team this year.
That's where we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is where we are. So the difference is the second team votes that Curry got 68 and Brunson got 62. I think Brunson is deserving of second team. Curry is the one, when you look at apples to apples and what Cade did, it was just like that team was 14 wins. Like, yes, he does. And the season that he had, again, they are going to cater to the names that they know. You need to do a deep dive to say that Cade really deserved first. And there were 6 people who voted for him for the first team. Kudos to those 6 people. We can find out who they are.
Yeah.
But the other people who said Cade is a third teamer, I mean, that's a choice. That's a choice.
So far to this point, we've seen that these are the types of things that add the extra motivation. It's not their motivation, but it does add that extra layer for these guys. And I just can't wait to see where it goes from here. And it speaks volumes. Shout out to Tyrese Halliburton. Definitely got to have some fun around the All-Star weekend. But he does find himself here on an All-NBA team in the season, which holds a little bit more weight than even the All-Star game. And this one talks about who you've been over the course of a season. And that's where when you talk about Cade Cunningham, top 7 in MVP voting and All-NBA third team, we see how much love he got for the second team too. What a season for Cade Cunningham, taking that next step. And now as the money is going to start, before we were like $40 million average, Cade Cunningham, over the life of that contract, just made himself $40+ million more by making this All-NBA team. So now the pressure is going to be on. And I want to kind of start there with our swish or break. JB Smooth, it's not official. The energy's not there until we get that graphic up, man. Swish or break? It is time for swish or break. And the first one is surrounding one Cade Cunningham. So there were some statements that we made last week about our free agent outlook approach for the Detroit Pistons, and we came away with, Malik Beasley being the one of the vets that we were focused on. Next week, it will be Dennis Schroeder, which a lot of people, they want to see Schroeder back. But we focused on Malik Beasley. We talked about, do you trade up for a Danny Wolf type of thing? Is it worth it, or do you sit tight? And we discussed as well, what should the free agent outlook be? Are you making a splash, or are you running it back? And so we had a lot of comments surrounding those things, including Cade Cunningham, who obviously was getting some attention here for the end of season awards. So, JB Smooth, if you see the Cade one, it has a 0 by it. We'll start with that one there. We will start there. And this one is from Michael Merrill 426. So we're putting your names out there, your government. Cade will never be Joker, LOL. And this was when we were talking about Cade's stats, his effect on his team, and the fact that Cade, out of everybody in these MVP votings and everybody in all NBA teams, shares his one similarity with Joker, that he's doing this without all NBA help and without all-star help. So he says he needs at least one other all-star to get through those teams in the West. He's really, really good, but trying to win like Denver, we'll be rebuilding yet again in 4 more years. I'm going to start with you, Flannel Sam.
Well, all right, there's a couple things to this. I don't think saying Cade will never be Joker is an insult. Nikola Jokic is already a Finals MVP. He's won 3 regular season MVPs. He didn't get one last year this past year in a season in which he averaged a hyper-efficient 30-point triple-double. There's nothing wrong if Cade doesn't get to Jokic. When it's all said and done all time, I would actually probably bet my money that Jokic will be higher up in the pantheon than Cade when we're having this discussion in a 20 years. So I don't think that's much of an insult. What I don't think, though, I don't think the Pistons will be rebuilding in 4 more years. I think Cade Cunningham is going to be that franchise superstar, and I think that the Pistons will build this the right way, and I think there's a variety of ways in which they can do that. And I think when it's all said and done, Cade will be comfortably a top 30 player of all time, certainly top 50. He's a franchise-capable player. There will be no rebuilding in the Cade Cunningham era.
Hey, I like that. JB Smooth, what up, though, brother? Do you think, draft free agent strategy-wise, can you build around Cade like you do Joker, or will that lead to disaster for the Pistons?
I mean, I kind of agree with Flannel. Saying that Cade will never be Joker, that's not an insult. Cade is his own person. I don't agree with this whole we'll be rebuilding in 4 years. I don't like that. I don't think that'll happen either as well, too. But I will agree that, yes, you do need another star. I don't know about all-star, but you do need another big-time star around Cade to help get over the hump of these Western teams.
You made that distinction. I like that because I would like, like we said, when we look at Michael Porter Jr., when we look at Jamal Murray, we know that those guys are star level, even though they haven't gotten that distinction of all-star. And I like where your mind is at.
People forget, man, that Jamal Murray, not so much recently, but especially in that championship run, he was an all-NBA type playoff performer. That series he had against the Lakers, I was rooting for the Lakers, so I remember it was unreal. Jamal Murray come playoff time usually turns into that all-NBA type player. This year, not so much, and that's why the Nuggets didn't win. So the whole no all-star teammate thing I think is a little bit misleading, and we've also seen Michael Porter Jr. in that playoff run be that super role player. Although recently, when the Nuggets don't win, you can kind of point to those guys not elevating. But they did get one with them. They did get one with Jokic, and Jokic did win Finals MVP, and we would kill for that right now for Cade to just get one.
Hey, what up, though, Kavasi Chase?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I feel like this is 2 questions, so it's you got 2 free throws. You make the first one, that's a swish. You miss the second one. Cade does need some help, but we're not going to be rebuilding in 4 years.
I like that. Rob Beard would say you, man. Chase GPT in the building.
You rebuild one time with Cade. We've been through that already. Everything else is going up.
It's gravy, man. Hey, and you know what? Let's get to that second one. I saw some people in the chat. They feel the same way, too. We know at least zoomed in here what Cade Cunningham is, but we're going to get back into the free agency approach. The next 2 are going to be sent to the round. Here's your first one. Are you running it back? So if you see that one from Motor City, Ben Diesel, we're going to go to that one. He says bring back both Schroeder and Beasley. And your starting 5, he wants Cade, Ivy, Asar, Harris, and Duren. And your bench, Dennis Schroeder, Beasley, Holland, Klintman, and Beef Stew. You're running it back.
So
he's counting on effectively the growth of Jalen Duren, the return of Jaden Ivey, and Dennis Schroeder for an entire season.
I've had a hard time with this because I can see it both ways. I think the Pistons have earned the right to go about it this way because Ivy was hurt for more than half the year. You saw Isaiah Stewart be hurt for basically the entire playoff series, a full year of Schroeder, some development from the young guys, Asar, Duren, Klintman, Holland. We know what Malik Beasley was as a regular season demon. I think this can be a formidable team. Do I think they'll win the title next year like this? No, I do not. But at the end of the day, I don't know if there's a way in which the Pistons will win the title next year regardless. It's about more than just next year.
Yeah, and I see the Shaquille Oatmeal in all caps. Guys, Ivy will be back. We don't need anyone else. So we got some people already who believe this is a swish. I'm going to go for it because I saw intern Ryan shaking his head. Hey, that dude, Justin, intern Ryan, you're running it back. Bring back the vets. Run this thing back and look at your improvements really being Ivy and Schroeder. What up, though? You comfortable with that next year for the next steps for the team?
I really have to say no about bringing it all the way back. I think Schroeder's going to want a lot of money, and I'm not really in the business of giving Schroeder a ton of money for maybe if a one-year deal, but not in the long term. And we also got to think here, this is the business of winning championships, not just making the playoffs and winning 2 games.
No more Q seasons, huh?
No, and this team, as fun as it was watching it and the growth of Cade and the other players, and they really kind of built around Cade as well with the shooters. But Ivy's kind of the wild card in all of this. Is Ivy going to be Cade's Robin? Is Ivy and Cade going to mesh well? I don't think that you can just run this team back and expect exponential growth. Maybe they win a playoff round or so, but we're in the business of winning championships, and I don't think this is a championship level roster. There's pieces, absolutely. Like I think Cade and Asar are championship caliber, but I think you've got to eventually, within the next 365 days, you've got to figure out who Cade's Robin's going to be. Whether that is going to be Ivy, whether you find that via free agency, or maybe you make a move at the deadline. But I'm not all for running it back with everyone.
What about Flannel?
Weezy D313, will Cade be Ivy's Robin?
Oh my God!
No. Every time I've accused you of being a Cade hating Ivy, bro. Many times you deny it, but I keep seeing it. I keep seeing a lot of Cade shade and a lot of Ivy love. I will just say that. Remember something, Weezy D313. There's a lot of context to this, but the Cade hating Ivy bros do not have any leg to stand on. Not one. The Pistons were a below 500 team when Jaden Ivey was in the lineup. And I know there's a lot of context to that, but you guys have no legs to be this emboldened. You got me, Weezy. You got me.
Can they have at least one leg?
No. 0.0. Oh, but they would have won more games with Ivy in there. No, they're literally under 500.
Have you ever seen Weezy and Stick in the same room at the same time?
They are the same person. No. That isn't fair. Weezy has been a lot more complimentary over the course of the season to Cade than Stick has.
Yeah, but he did call him Stick D313 yesterday.
Oh, yeah, Stick D313, yeah.
So, JB Smooth, what about you, man? Are you just running this thing back? Is that the secret to the sauce with some improvement from your young players, including Jaden Ivey?
I mean, I agree with Flannel. I think this team has proven to itself that they at least could attempt to run it back one more time with a healthy full roster. But then again, it's like, do you really want to waste another season? Although you'll see development from Cade and Ivy, do you want to waste another season of theirs? Not once again, either making it to the Eastern Conference Finals or the championship once again. Looking at this roster, I like it, but I think it's missing something. It's just still missing something for me.
Vasia?
I mean, I think the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I think if you run it back and you're expecting to get beyond the first round, you're going to be fooling yourself a little bit. Obviously, we were contending, but we didn't have enough to do it. And to not make any move, even with Ivy coming back, he didn't have any playoff experience. And I think getting a veteran who can be a bigger part of this team as far as like either like a role player or, you know, a starter more or less, I think is going to be very crucial helping this team grow beyond like just this next season, but, you know, the development of these young guys too.
And it's interesting. I wanted to be able to get people's perspectives on this. In Rod Beard, give yours, because the next one's going to be more star-centered. And then we're going to get into trades, into players that people are talking about. So we have a few more after that, probably 3 more that we'll get to. But, Rod, what say you on this one, man? You comfortable with running it back, and do you think that that is adequate enough for the Detroit Pistons to take a step forward next year, to be a top 4 squad if Ivy is that deal coming back from injury?
Be a top 4 squad in the East.
If
with
they
this
run it
group
back.
If they run it back, they can. Tobias is going to need to be more than 14 points a game. And this supposes
asking a lot, Rob.
Asking a lot.
Look,
Asking a lot.
I mean, wants more out of Tobias.
He's getting older too.
This also means this means that you're probably paying Beasley and Schroeder some combination of 20 and 18 million. You're putting 38 million on the two of them, two bench guys. I don't necessarily love that either. But this also means that you're going to have to pay Ivy and Duren, two of you. If you're starting both of them, you have to pay both of them. And so this is the last version of this team that you have, because you can't pay everybody. And that's kind of what you're painting yourself in the corner to do. And if you're going to do something, I think you have to do it this summer and see what your chances are next year.
Rod, bro, you were preaching on that one. And you're right when you just put it like that. When you think $30 million a year minimum for both Schroeder and Beasley, that's a lot of money. That's where your minimum
high 30s. It's high 30s. That is high 30s.
Yeah, golly, that's a good point. Let's get to this next one real quick, because there's a couple more I want to definitely get to. The next one is dealing with them, because it's the perfect segue. If they have to do something, are they getting involved in this star market? And so we'll go to this next one where, he got a whole lot of names. He doesn't care which one it is, and it's from, let's see here, Cerebro Quartet Reviews. Do you see that one up there? He got it up there. If I were the Pistons, I would do whatever it takes to get Giannis, Zion, or even KD or Booker. We won't get this opportunity again. So do they go overdrive? Last one is, maybe not running back. Are you comfortable with them going out there and sinking the money, the high 30s and close to 40s, into Schroeder and Beasley? Or do you think they actually need to go out here and take a swing at one of these maybe available or disgruntled stars?
I promise you that I'm not trying to cop out. I think for the right deal, you pick up the phone and you listen and you consider, because the thought of pairing Cade with any of those four,
this is different than I thought you would say.
It's tantalizing. Every single one of them has a lot of things to like, and I think all of them, except maybe Giannis, have potential drawbacks, because I still believe.
Are we being serious right now?
Look, go ahead.
Is it April 1st? Is it April 1st? What are we doing? Every single one of these? Do you see the second one? There's a second name right there. It says Zion. We feel good about that?
Who has been absolutely spectacular and lived up to the hype when he's played. And I understand that's a huge win. That's why I say for the right deal, if Zion can be incredibly cheap, he's not even my top choice. I'm just saying that.
A lot of Zionists.
Zion is.
He can't be.
There's a lot of Zionists.
Hey, he's not my first choice. It's just that you can't deny that when he's on the court, he's an elite player. It's just we know that's the biggest problem.
I feel like the Pelicans are still, though, going to try and pull a Danny Ainge and say, hey, look, we want highway robbery for if you want a chance at Zion.
Sure, and I'm not saying that no highway robbery should be done at the Pistons' expense for Zion Williamson. Just so we're clear on that. But you shouldn't just hang up the phone or not even answer when you see a New Orleans area code.
Hey, I love that, man. Hey, what about you two, Ryan, Justin? Any comments on this one, man? If the Pistons all in on the star this summer, because Ryan, I know these are more in line with your comments too. You were talking about you're ready to see this team go and actually make championship moves, especially with the East, which has a whole lot of dysfunction going on right now.
Yeah, there's a strong possibility Giannis isn't even in the East next year. Maybe he ends up in San Antonio with that number 2 overall pick.
Oh, Lord.
Pair him up with Wemby. I would like Booker. Not a huge fan of KD right now with the age and everything. And here's the thing, my take with the Zion thing. Langdon was in there when Zion was taken there. So if Langdon likes Zion and thinks there's still something, because he knows the ins and outs of Zion at this point, I'm all for it just because he was there in New Orleans. If not, I'm also totally cool with it. But if I were being completely honest, I would like Devin Booker overall then, because you add a guard to pair up with Cade. Maybe you have to end up shipping out Ivy and another young player. But I would take Booker over the 4 of these, unless Langdon really likes Zion. Then I would trust his word for Zion.
Yeah, and I see here in the chat too, man. Some people, what up though with Detroit Gunny? Zion will become Oliver Miller if we get him.
Okay, that's so false that it's not even funny. people act like he's a bum. He just can't stay healthy, and that makes him a bust, I think, in a lot of ways so far. But when he is on the court, man, he is an elite
and
player.
he loves to come here and just wreck the Pistons.
And again, this is not my first choice. I'm just not hanging up the phone. A lot of you are just hanging up the phone and throwing it in the ocean if a New Orleans phone number calls. That's not my thought process.
Yeah, it could be swing cash. That was her. Hey, Xavier D, he says, I don't love any of these except Giannis. But, JB Smooth, what up, though, brother?
I'm going to just keep it real with you guys 100%. There's only 2 names on this list who are actually probably willing to come to play for Detroit. Giannis and KD are not coming to Detroit. I'm going to be real with you. That they are not making it happen. It's Zion and Booker. Those are the only 2 who I can foresee or will be willing to play with Cade and in Detroit. So if you want to try and spend all your cash to try to get either one of those 2, I'm down for it. I'm more leaning towards Booker, but if I'm being real, those are the only 2 names that's going to come to Detroit.
About CHX?
Yeah, I'd be down for Booker, but I wouldn't really be like going all in on Zion, KD, or Giannis. I think the other guys you could go after who would fit this team like in the now and in the long term better, at a bit of a cheaper cost, and who are, like I said, I think you can make better moves that you don't have to necessarily go all in on. You can like more or less like buy at a better cost, and with the growth of Cade and this whole team, you see the rise of this other young player in that same mold. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. just missed out on All NBA. That's $200 million. He's not going to be getting paid extra from the Grizzlies. That's $200 million another team like the Pistons wouldn't have to pay them that Cade Cunningham is getting when he made the All NBA selection. So someone like that to pair, with Cade, I think would be like more my cup of tea than going after like one of these like bigger names who are on the plus side of 30 as well.
I like where your mind's at. Jaren Jackson Jr. is one of those guys who've always said, I'd love to see him in a Pistons jersey. But what say ye, Rod Beard? You trying to go in for one of these stars? I know you love that Zion fit here in Detroit, right?
Got off the old calculator. Zion has played in 52% of games. 52% of games. His high for 1 year is 70 games. Like, you can't function with that. You need your star to be available. And I'm not going to say the old best ability is availability, but when plays is not good enough. It's like when KG is there, never mind. When KG is there, we get stuff like this. So I am not going to throw this away. This is past the point that I should have thrown that sticky note away. I think I'm just going to keep that. But you can't count on kind of spotty participation and spotty attendance at games, especially for a guy that you're going to pay the amount that you would be paying Zion. And again, I agree with the idea that Trajan Langdon would know best whether Zion is going to be a fit. I would take C.J. McCollum probably over Zion. And in this list of folks, I don't think you're getting Giannis because the bidding is just going to be too tough. Everybody is going to have that, and you don't have the draft capital to go out and get Zion. KD, I would actually take a long look at. And what's his salary number now? I think if it's reasonable, if it's not in the 50, which it probably is, then you can take a look. And Book, I think that is going to be the last bastion. Book is just going to stay there. His numbers start to get a little crazy too, where he's in the 50, 60 million in the next 3 years. So I don't think you can have that and Cade and try to put together a confident
we'll be
roster.
approaching $100 million a year for just those 2 players. By that time, that would be pretty wild. And I get you on the KD one. That's the one where I look at it and say, I hope they can take a good hard look at that one because that's the player. If you want to talk about any NBA starting league that's complimented Cade the most and really goes out of his way to do it, it's been Kevin Durant. Whether it's been the USA team practices with the select team, whether it's been after games they've played each other, summer workouts, rim runs and such. KD has been really complimentary of Cade. He said it goes back to the fact that them in their proximity to Texas too. So he was hoping that Cade would go to Texas, but we all understood. We know where Cade wound up going to Oklahoma, but Oklahoma State. I'm sorry.
So they don't have as big a rivalry.
Yeah, but ultimately, KD is probably to me the most intriguing of that one in terms of gettability, availability, being able to probably fit into your team without really disrupting a lot of what goes on here with Cade too. I don't know. I like that one. I know that it would take a boatload.
KD is expiring at 54.7, so I think you could kick the tires on that one. And what did the Pistons miss so much this year? A bucket getter. That with you going down the court, you need a bucket, and you have to count on Cade. If you had it's not necessarily a Robin, but you just need somebody who can go get a bucket when you need it.
Either get a bucket or bust up those double teams with the hedges that they would shade towards Cade.
Yep.
But I want to do a couple of these really quickly, so we'll get through them. Mar 0805. It's a new name to our free agency board. We will talk about this one even probably a little bit more next week. But DeMar says this: why is no one talking about John Collins? He provides the size and skill, better shooting and inside scorer than Naz Reid. He also isn't a huge name, so he is probably wouldn't cost as much. And we know he just came off of that big contract, which made him effectively a non-target for the Detroit Pistons. We heard all the rumors, but when he got to that 20 million plus mark, and you heard all the dysfunction coming out of Atlanta, it got to the point where the Pistons and John Collins just weren't a fit. But now you have another opportunity where at one point in time they did believe he could run with this young squad and be a fit. You have that hole at the 4th spot. I wouldn't even call it a hole, but you need something, whether it's backup or whether it's in the starting lineup. Some people believe that it is John Collins. What say ye, Flannel Sam?
I think John Collins could potentially be one of the biggest bargains in the NBA next year because of his injury concerns, and rightfully so. He's missed a lot of games throughout his career. Could make him a little bit depreciated, but at the end of the day, he's an efficient scorer. He can shoot the three. He's a great rebounder, averaged more than 8 for his career, 16-point-a-game scorer for his career. For the right price, I would be thrilled with John Collins, especially given the fact that he's a 6'9" with that skill set. For the right price, I would be thrilled.
That's right. JB Smooth.
What's your right price? What's your right price there?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to punt on this one and get back to you next week because I don't want to undershoot him. I want to see more what rumblings are, what he could get on the market before I answer that.
Yeah, because
would you give him 25? Would you give him 25? Would you give him 25?
I wouldn't be upset.
Okay, that's fair.
I wouldn't be
That's
upset.
fair.
I wouldn't call for it or pound the table for it, but I wouldn't be upset.
It's goodness 25. You know what? I'm with Flannel on that one. I wouldn't be upset with it. That would be steep. That definitely gives him a little bit of a raise. But you look at the complete skill set, and what would excite me about a John Collins here is how he would fit with this core and play off of the gravity that Cade creates and provide more if he's coming off the bench. They need that, what he could bring size-wise, his activity, and how he can stretch the floor. That actually, goodness gracious, now I'm actually really starting to think because some of these teams that are still playing, they got those guys deep in their rotation. They have those types of players on their squad. And at some point in time, you do have to elevate the premium that you place on your role players and on your bench. You're paying Tobias $26 million a year right now. I can see giving John Collins 25.
That is some great context. Yeah, give him 25.
Yeah.
Give him 25.
Look at our booth.
Thank you, Kool-Aid, for reminding me. Yeah, give him 25.
Hey, you know what? Briefly, hey, JB Smooth, Swish or break? John Collins
I'm Swish. I'm all
at
for
the
it.
25.
Yeah, I'll do it at 25 to get Tobias off this team. Anyway,
Come on, see. What about you, brother?
I'll say Swish, yeah.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
Naturally. And I'm going to do one more, and we will give our brief swishes or breaks. We'll go to the next one, and it's from The Rock Never Stops, with an interesting perspective on what we should do with these veterans. We said Malik Beasley might be somebody that you potentially have to pass on based on playoff performance and based on the fact that he could command what Malik Monk did, and that's that $19-20 million a year plus this offseason, which might just be a little too rich for the Pistons. But The Rock Never Stops says this: focus on upgrading the veterans who can be A, problem solvers, B, versatile defenders, C, skill, D, leadership. Sign and trade Dennis Schroeder for P.J. Washington in Dallas, and then trade Fontecchio to Washington for either Chris Middleton or Marcus Smart, and he believes that that is the perfect offseason. What say you, Flannel Sam?
perfect offseason in this is insane.
Shout out to him, though. He's one of our
Insane.
supporters.
With all due respect, to call it the perfect offseason. I don't think you're trade. Why would Washington accept Fontecchio for Chris Middleton or Marcus Smart? That's the question that I would ask. Why would they do that? And as far as Dennis Schroeder for PJ Washington, they're so different as players. I think right now Dennis Schroeder would actually be more valuable. For now, depending on what they do moving forward, that could be different. But saying that that's a perfect offseason is a stretch.
That is a stretch. What up, though, JB Smooth?
Perfect off season. I just came back to the same thing. What is this? No, this is a brick for me.
Way
is
overshooting
terrible.
this.
Yeah, perfect off season. Yeah, you're way overshooting
It's a
this,
half
man.
court heave at the end of a quarter, and you just let the buzzer go because you don't want the shot on your record, but you still throw it over the rim because you still want to be able to show the effort. That's what I'm kind of sensing from you guys. What up, Doc Cavazzi?
This was like one of those Spice Adams videos where he's just like throwing it off the rack, no form, no nothing.
Make it
man.
rain.
Like it's pretty rough.
Show the people that flick one more time, JB Smooth.
One more time. Make it rain.
Shout out, Rob Beard. What say ye? Hey, listen, because what he's getting at is this. He does believe that there needs to be an upgrade of the veterans. So if you're talking about the free throw analogy that Cavazzi and Chase had earlier, maybe you make the first, but this being the perfect offseason if they do that, maybe that's a miss on the second.
Well, all right. Let me give the Rock Never Stops a little bit of grace. If you can somehow convince Washington to do that deal and bring Chris Middleton here, then we can. I still don't think perfect offseason, but maybe that's what you were always going for. Maybe I should have thought of that before I called you out so much. I just don't think that Washington would do that.
Hey, Rob Beard, what say ye for the last one?
Oh, Rob Beard.
I don't think they do this either. But again, I'm looking at Beasley, Schroeder. You can go get Bobby Portis for 16 or 7, maybe 18.
I think that's the one.
Then you that is probably more of a perfect offseason than this. Yeah, this isn't it. This isn't it for me.
Bobby Schroeder at 15 or 16 or John Collins at the 25. Golly. But when you're talking about how the cap lays out, you're going to get your ability to get one of those free agents. It's not like they're going to go and get a $15 million and a $10 million. They're going to have to use their exceptions, and that's probably bring back one or two of Beasley and Schroeder. And then you saw they're throwing all the love in the world at Tim Hardaway too, all over the socials. They've been showing him a whole lot of love. So they don't have a lot to play with. It legitimately to me feels like they have one shot. If you're going to go out in free agency and play, you got kind of really one shot to go out there unless you're going to trade to get something done with your cap space. And then you're looking at which veterans are you going to be able to convince or have accept these like your non-taxpayer exception, which is $14 million, and upon others. So the Bobby Portis one is one that it continues to intrigue me, Rod.
Yeah, you're just going to have to be smart with it. And we can do the Christmas shopping list of people that we would want, but you also have to keep it in the context of your existing players, or unless you're trading, if you're trading somebody in a big number into somebody else's space, then you can just get a pick back and it'll give you some more space. But I don't know. I don't know if you can go get two people in free agency. You're going to have to make some trades and get rid of some pieces that you have. And it could be some young guys. It could be some veterans. It could be a lot of different directions they could go.
Listen, you know what? We're going to talk about that. John Collins will be on the docket. You know what? Let's add Bobby Portis to that just to put that in your mind already in advance. And we're going to have to talk about what you just said. Obviously, Dennis Schroeder will be on the docket. But we're going to have to also talk about what are we doing with the young players, because the sentiment across the board from all of us, from intern Ryan all the way to the legend Detroit News Rod Beard, is that there are some changes that are going to have to happen for this team. Just kind of looking at how the cap space lays out, looking at if you're going to take some necessary steps or improvements forward, you do have the opportunity to run it back and nip and tuck. But if you're talking about really making an improvement based on what's available to you this offseason, it might come at the expense of some of the young players that we really have grown to say, you know what, can't wait to see what they become in a Detroit Pistons uniform. But, Rod, any last words, brother?
No. I just think another good show, some good discussion about what the free agency could look like. But you could stand sort of pat if you add Bobby Portis. are you a team that could be in the 4-5 range of seeding next year? Yeah, I think so. I think it's just a little bit of tinkering. If you go and add a bigger name, then that could put you in the top 3 or 4.
I like that, man. That's really, really great context. I thought as well the conversation was awesome. It was cool to get everybody's input today. Rod Beard, senior sports editor, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, former the Detroit News sports editor-in-chief, beat writer for everything from Michigan basketball to Detroit Pistons, and still a mentor, still finding ways to give back to Detroit sports, Michigan sports, still finding ways to mentor this. I think I'm heading into OG-ism right now. But I let people know in the chat as well. Again, Rod has been kind of mentoring me for 3-4 years. We've done this for a long time, and you've been on this show and a part of it and this network for some time. So shout out to you, Rod, Detroit legend, state of Michigan legend, Go Blue legend, and just overall one of the best in this game professionally and as a person. Thank you as always for your time, Rod.
Have a good show.
See you, Rod.
And, I know we probably got to double up on some sponsors.
Yeah, we got to do a Dr. Pierce and a White Claw tour.
Attention sports fans, don't miss out on expert sports injury insights with Dr. Jeff Pierce.